Hi, this is Todd. I got a long overdue update for you. There have been so many changes going on behind the scenes. We've got so many really cool enhancements that we're working on based on your feedback. But I wanted to stop for a minute and just kind of share with you some of the things you've probably been seeing on the software over the last few weeks. So let's start off with just this main page here. Just as a best practice, I've had a couple people asking about timing and time and date stamping their plans. And this is one great best practice with your plan title. You could come in here and put in a plan title that would help you to remember this transaction, such as this is a second home refinance. And I can put in that date and time right here, and that's going to show up here in my reminder, or it's going to show up when I'm searching for that particular plan and the plans found. It's a great way to keep track of, especially if you've got one client and you're doing multiple plans for that client. Another unique feature of BSA. Another feature that we added that many of you had asked about was if the client is renting and they're currently renting today. Previously, when you put in that, say that landlord, and you put in the amount of rent that they were paying each month, we had this little box here that allowed you to come in and you could put in an inflation adjustment, like adjust by 3%. Each year. Now we also have the ability to add in your rental insurance, so you can put in $30 a month they're paying in rental, and maybe they have another property expense associated with that property. This now all flows through on your analysis page on your deduction, so you got the ability to tweak that rental payment quite a bit. And I'll just kind of delete that out. So anytime you're doing a rental property, make sure you click that button and make those additional property adjustments. Now there's so many small changes and improvements throughout, but I wanted to show you a couple more that we've added in this release. One is in the prior version, we had an open house flyer, and there were two options. There was the property flyer, and that's really more of a focus on the property. You'll have the top half of the flyer shows the property picture. This is really you helping a client or a friend or a realtor put together something that's got some great information about the property and some real basics of what the flyer itself, or what the financing itself would look like. Now, and then we had the Finance Flyer Lite, and what we meant by that is it's light on property information. It just has the picture and the address, and it had more in-depth look at the actual financing itself. And we've got a new one called Finance Flyer Full. And Finance Flyer Full is like the Finance Flyer Lite. It's light on property, but we go through a much more in-depth analysis on the open house flyer. In addition to that, we actually now have the ability to add a first and a second mortgage on your finance flyer, because we had folks doing 80-10-10s and things. So this new flyer is now live, and we've got 4 more that we're currently working on. So our goal is to have a nice suite of open house flyers that you'll be able to use and even customize in terms of picking different templates. So hope you enjoy this third one. I'll give you a quick look at how they're different. This was our original property flyer. As you can see, you've got more flyer information up here at the top, and you've got your branding and just some basics in here. Some people like a real simple loan type, cash to close, amount borrowed, and income to qualify. That's just sometimes less can be more. Then we had the, let's see, the prior one was the Finance Flyer Lite, which is real light on the property information, just the picture and the address and the amount, and we had more depth in here into the finance. The same amount of information for branding, but we had a little bit more detail. Our newest flyer is the Finance Flyer Full, and what it does, it gets a little smaller point type to get all the information to work. Same branding here. We moved our disclosures over to the right to comply with some new guidelines where some people want to have disclosures up at the same level as their core information. But you'll notice now we have the purchase price, down payment, loan amount. The first mortgage information is here. Second mortgage, so I can do a first and a second with the combined payment. I can see my taxes, homeowners insurance, dues, and monthly payment. Down payment, closing costs, total cash, and income to qualify. So all the key information is in here, but I've now got that ability to do the first and the second, and it's overall a cleaner looking flyer. So enjoy all 3 of those options. Now, a couple other new features that I'll point out is on the borrow page. The borrow page is now the same whether you're in simple or advanced, and in a release that you'll probably see in about a week or so from now, we're going to actually go to a single plan. So you'll have just one plan choice here, and you'll be able to access these advanced features from within that simple plan. So you won't have to use the simple or advanced. It'll just be one simple plan, and you can access the features you want. Now, we've gone through and we've been cleaning this up. You'll see a couple new speed-related features, but one of the things that people asked us about was the APR. Because they might be using a software program, and we might be getting a 3.351 using the standards that we're using from the APR site, but maybe they're coming up with a 3.56 or something different. So we'll continue to calculate the APR for you automatically, and you can recalculate it at any time, but you can also come in now and override. Let's say that you wanted this to match your APR on your software so that your presentation matches, say, something that you're using in an LOS system. That way you're able to make sure these flow over, and you can override any of the APRs that you would like to for a presentation. So that's a new feature that came in from one of our users who wanted to be able to make sure their APRs matched up exactly what they were using in another software. Now, these things here are flowing the same, the cash flow, cash savings, but you'll notice down here we've greatly simplified the future wealth impact. And the future wealth impact now will show your wealth impact for each scenario over your target time frame. And you'll notice I just see the two key things right now, time and property appreciation. So I can see that after 7 years that I'm better off by $57,000 with the 7-year arm, $11,000 with the 30, and $23,000 with the 15. And again, this is just impossible to do with other programs. I can come over here to 10 years, and you can see I'm still better off here, but the 15 is really gaining. And if I go out here to 15 years, because that 7-year arm has started to adjust out at 15 years, my wealth impact is dramatically lower. $8,359 versus $23,000 versus $66,620. Now, what's so cool, this is much more measurable to the client in terms of benefits, but they may not be comfortable with this higher $321 a month payment. And if you're discussing that, again, as a best practice, we would say just take it away. And it's that easy to do in a conversation. Now I'm just focusing on the two options and saying over a 7-year time period, you can clearly see there's no real risk. This is your best option by a long shot. But if we're going to go out, say, 25 to 30 years, then we really want to look at this 30-year market, this 30-year product, because it's going to provide you that interest rate protection over time. Now, in the past, we had the savings and the repaying and all that, and a lot of people love the ability to tweak that. Now we've got this expansion button here, and if I do this, it's going to allow me to go through and tweak the payments. And we've simplified it again for you. So you've got the minimum payment here now as the default. I can see the payment difference above. So if I wanted to make additional payments, let's say I'm paying $1,659 here. You'll notice now in the readout below it says $1,659, $1,391, and $1,505. Well, I can come up here and let's say I put in $268. That's my additional payment. Now you'll notice it says I'm paying $1,659, I'm paying $1,659. So it makes it much easier to play around with your payments, and the savings rate appears now because that's now relevant. So whatever their savings rate is, I can put that in, and you'll notice now all these numbers are being calculated below. So I can go through and begin to play around with how I want to illustrate this particular plan. Is it 154 that I want to put in here? So now I'm at 1659 using the numbers above, and I can see how does that impact the wealth over the target time period, whatever that is. If I want to apply appreciation to all the properties, I can do that right here. And I'm buying a new house, so here's my current house. My new house, because it's a larger house, at 2% will create a little more wealth there, so I really get to see the financial and the wealth impact. With the rent income right here, I have the ability to say if I'm buying a new house, it's a bigger house, I'm going to rent a room for $250 a month. And again, with just 2 quick clicks here, I can now compare my current situation, my smaller house where I have no rent, to this scenario where not only is my payment lower, but I'm going to show some rental income in as well, and that rental income shows up here and flows through to the wealth. I can toggle between savings and repaying. So I can decide whether I want this extra cash and cash flow to go into a savings account, in which case it's going to look at the wealth creation, or whether I'm more focused on paying off the debt, in which case all of that money is being applied towards principal. In the old house, I'm spending $1,659. It's going to be 336 months to being debt-free. In the new house, in this scenario, taking the payment difference of $268 or $154 and the rent income, I could be debt-free in 283 or 225 months, depending on what's important for me. So this gives you a lot of control, but it also keeps things really simple. If you just want to show pure payment comparison side by side over a target time frame, you can do that very easily. And again, with all of the tool, the way it's modularly built, I can simply focus on just cash flow and closing, or I can get into that future wealth if I'd like to. I have the ability to expand or contract anything. If I don't want to show current liabilities, I can just compare the 7 and the 30 side by side and show those to the client to see the cash flow difference, the payment difference, and the wealth impact. And now I'm benchmarking against the two. This is going to be better, this is going to be worse, and it allows you to really focus on what your client needs to see to be able to make a decision to move forward. Now, one other thing we've done for advanced users, if I'm working with this client and I want to go into an advanced plan, and let's say in the borrow I actually have my current liabilities expanded, and I'm comparing those to a 7-year ARM and a 30-year fixed and a 15. In the past, when I went to the repay screen, I was always going to compare the current to these alternatives. Now we've opened it up so I can compare anything to anything. I want to compare the 30 to the 15. That allows me to come in here and show the 15-year mortgage here, the 30-year here, and I can see the financial difference. I can even compare the 15 to the 15. And then I can take those two side by side and say, with this 15, I'd like to see an extra $350 a month going in, and I'd like to see that go towards repaying. And up here, I just have my current 15. So this gives you a lot of new flexibility in how you can go through and illustrate and either highlight an existing 15 compared to a 15 with a different repayment strategy, or I'd like to compare a current 15 to the 30, and then I could put extra payments towards the 30 if I want to do that. You'll notice we now make it much easier to explain. We illustrate all of the key stuff. You're potentially debt-free in 18 years, 9 months based on your payment of $1,505 with a lump sum of negative $2,000 at closing. That's your closing costs, with an additional payment of $404 per month. So it illustrates and really kind of shows you exactly what's happening here, but you still have all that flexibility. We've simplified it, but you've got the flexibility here to come in and put an extra payment in and say I want some of that to go towards savings and some of that to go towards repaying, and I can go out over my target time frame. And I can do the same thing down below with the 15. I can look at that and say I do want to consider some extra payments on the 15, but not as much, only $100. So you can compare apples to apples or apples to tangerines. You've got ultimate flexibility now in how you use the repay screen to compare scenarios side by side if you want to drop it down another level. So we've had some best practice users say what they're doing on this screen is they're getting down and saying, I believe compared to what you're doing today, your best two choices are the 7-year ARM or the 30-year fixed. And then they'll come over to the repay screen, and they'll take on the repay screen and they'll dial down those another level, and they'll compare that 7-year ARM to the 30-year fixed for that particular client. And they might go through and show some extra payments or some other things to show that client how they're better off. Even with the adjustable period, maybe they want to go out to 10 years and show them applying, or 10 or 11 years, and show that extra payment going towards prepaying that debt. And they can see just how much better they're going to be financially over that time period.